What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Cam, and we are here to break down the College Football 27 Dynasty Deep Dive blog. They did their little presentation on Friday. It's going to go up Monday. The beta has came and gone. I wanted to wait until after the beta to do this. Even though I didn't play the beta a ton, I kind of wanted to let that rest and break down the deep dive and then what I saw in the beta. And I'm excited to hop back into college football. I have almost 1,200 hours played on 26. I had more on 25. By far my favorite sports game that I play. So let's break it down. Let's hop in. We're not going to break down everything here in this deep dive because that would literally take me hours. And who knows how long this video is? I don't. You guys know more than I do at this point. But we're gonna hop in here and break some of this stuff down. Talk about what I like, what I don't like. There's a lot to like, but there's also some bad. But we're gonna hop in here. When we get in here, I do want to preface that anything that's not like a new game system or shown vividly in the game, like if they're just like, hey, this works better or blah blah blah. Unfortunately, you have to take everything just said with a grain of salt. EA is EA. Even though I like a lot of what we're seeing, sometimes they just bold-faced lie. Straight up, like the best example I can put is last year. They were like, "Hey, in Madden, playbooks are not as dependent in franchise. They were as dependent as they've ever been, ever. I mean, there's no. That's my best example because there's no getting around what it was. It was straight up a bold-faced lie. So anything that's not actually shown, take it with a grain of salt. Just starting off, man. I'm gonna glaze. I'm gonna glaze what I like. I am going to glaze what I like. This main menu picture, the player does look a little corny. I don't know why he's like such a weird pose to choose, to be honest. But this menu compared to the last one with just your coach standing in a corner, is so much better. There's gonna be different players and stuff to pop up. Shows your job security, conference class, shows you the weather, dynamic weather, a huge addition this year. This looks a ton better than the College Football 26 one, in my opinion. They talk about here that you now have expectations from your athletic director, which I think is funny because some of the best Twitter stuff I see online, especially with UCLA fan here, that people hate the athletic director. It's like Martin something, I forget his last name, but people hate him. So the fact that you have expectations from athletic directors will make for kind of funny content. But they talk about how like last year, like I never even got threatened to get fired from a school. The goals are, win so many games. That was it. Blah, blah, blah. Now they have dynamic goals and different schools have different demeanors, which will, a lot of what I harp on is replayability. I played the game for almost 1,200 hours. I'm doing a ton of dynasties. Anything that adds to replayability for me is top of the list for me. So if we want to hop into this image here for Ryan Day, the school demeanor, obviously Ohio State. I'm going to move my camera so you guys can see some of this. School demeanor, impatient. Passing goals increases your job security at a lower rate. Failing goals decreases your job security at a higher rate. So it's just harder to satisfy. It's Ohio State, obviously. And I didn't really understand what it was at first. But if you see, you guys can't see my mouse, can you? I don't think you can. I've never really done this webcam, this type of recording. But if you see on the right side of the screen, the like red and green boxes, so like you would get more of a downgrade if you didn't make the Natty in the next 7 seasons than you would the like reward you would get for making it, right? Beat Michigan. You get no bonus if you beat Michigan. No bonus. You beat them by 2. It's kind of weird though. Like if you beat Michigan by 2, you're telling me you get 3 downgrades or like a huge negative. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if I love that, but I think it should just be beat Michigan. I don't think the athletic director like, oh, you only beat them by 2 instead of 3. You're cooked. and then the bottom one be ranked in the top 5. I mean, these are very high expectations. I would like to see them higher. Like this Natty 7 seasons thing, I think it could be like 3 or 4. Like if Ohio State doesn't make the Natty for the next 7 seasons, bro, Ryan Day's cooked, in my opinion. That's kind of that'd be what I would think. But yeah, that is a huge W change for replayability, and maybe people actually end up getting fired from their job, which should sometimes occur, And some people don't like that. And I'm sure you could turn it off. You could turn it off last year. But yeah, some schools are more patient than others. Some prioritize different things like top recruiting classes or, winning or stuff like that. They didn't show a picture of like any of these with like recruiting goals. So I'm interested to see what they mean by that. Because they didn't show any examples and I didn't see any in the beta as well, but they talk about it's somewhere in here. Oh, program priorities. It's somewhere in here. Yeah, others prioritize recruiting, whether that means signing elite talent, controlling their home state, or owning a Pacific regional pipeline. I didn't see any of that in the beta. They have goals and evaluation. Now, just talk about every school is different. Every team has different expectations and stuff like that. And they evolve as well as you succeed. So here's some really great examples from James Franklin at Virginia Tech. So at the beginning, their expectation is just a conference contender. It's win a bowl game. It's beat Virginia. It's win 50% of your conference games. But as they do well, it evolves. So now it's conference competitor for expectation. The next year, they go 11-3. Then it's conference contender. Now it's beat Virginia by a certain point total. Now it's win 75% of your conference games. They go 12-3 and win the conference. Now it's win a conference title. Be ranked in the top 15. You get bonuses, but no failure for that. The school demeanor apparently remains the same. They win the ACC again. It's win a conference title and stuff like that. Expectation, playoff hopeful. They win a playoff game. I assume the CFP logo is just winning a playoff game. You would think that wouldn't be the Natty logo. I don't know. That's kind of odd. But expectation, playoff contender. Now it's win a conference title. You get actually a decent downgrade if you don't. So stuff like that is sick. National title contender. And honestly, like my only gripe with some of this stuff is I actually wish the goals were a little more severe. Like or maybe the school demeanor changes from patient to inpatient, We don't know if it exactly can do that, but I haven't seen the school demeanor change at all, so we'll see. Dynasty blueprints. They didn't do a great job of explaining this, in my opinion, in the blog. It's way more easier to see hands-on, and obviously you can't record any of the beta, so I can't do that, but I'll do my best. Pretty much, you have Dynasty points. These are not coach points. These are relative to your entire program, and you can spin it across coaching staff, facilities, and NIL, paying your players. About time we got NIL in the game. And I think it's done pretty well. We'll see how it plays out, obviously, when we get the game in July. But I think the way they have it sorted out makes a decent amount of sense. And here's a great picture to break it down. So, your Dynasty points is this blue logo right here. Okay? And I believe these refresh at the beginning or like during the off season. It brings these up and you can budget them accordingly. So, it gives you suggestions of how you should budget them out, but obviously you don't have to follow these, but it really, from what I hear from people that have played a decent amount, and the YouTubers and stuff like that, the creators have a different build than we did in the beta, that, man, if you don't budget these out correctly, you could be left with not enough NIL and lose a ton of your roster. So how you budget this stuff out is going to be extremely important. I believe staff is going to be more of like almost like the tactician coach tree and stuff like that. Facilities is going to kind of be their own motivator. It's also going to help with like your athletic facilities team grade and stuff like that. But I think it's going to be a lot of development stuff. And then the roster NIL is obviously like the player. So you could almost think of it as like, it's not exactly a one-to-one, but it's almost like the version of the coach trees, like tactician, motivator, and recruiter. It's almost like their own little version in here. Like I said, not the best example, but it's kind of what I compare it to. But I believe you budget these out at the beginning or, during the off season before each actual season, and then that's your deal. And I do appreciate how a lot of these pictures are UCLA related, as I'm a UCLA fan, so I got lucky there. But yeah, they Dynasty points are driven by your conference prestige, brand exposure, stadium atmosphere, program tradition. I believe I saw somewhere where Ohio State had over 13,000 Dynasty points, and Kent State had 500. So it's another way to differentiate the lowest of the low and the highest of the high, which is how it should be. I don't think you'll be seeing a lot of small school 3-4 year natty rebuilds. It's going to take longer, which is how it should. It's how it should be. There shouldn't be many shortcuts. There are shortcuts that are tied to real money, which we'll get to, trust me. But for the most part, it looks like it's going to be a longer process of rebuilding smaller schools, as the Dynasty points is going to be a huge deal. And then I believe you can earn Dynasty points from doing your completing your athletic director expectations. And Dynasty points do not roll over year to year. So it's use it or lose it, and it refreshes during the end of season recap. So here's how it's kind of rewarded for it. Conference prestige gives you a certain amount. So honestly, like even if you're a smaller school, getting out of like the Mountain West or the Sun Belt or the American and into a Power 4 conference would actually be quite helpful. Brand exposure, stadium atmosphere gives you some, which is really interesting. Hopefully there's a way to upgrade stadium atmosphere this year. Last year, you could win 10 straight titles at Kent State and it'd still be like barely upgraded, if at all. So hopefully they have a way to upgrade that. Program tradition, and then extra budget from coachability, support staff, and NIL, and contract goals as well. So managing. Okay, no, Dynasty Blueprint is not something you manage once and forget about. So different parts of your blueprint become available at different points in the Dynasty calendar. But I don't know exactly, like, I don't know if you can change your overall budget during the year. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You shouldn't be able to do that, but they talk about when you can do your stuff. So preseason is when you hire and fire support staff and purchase equipment upgrades for your facilities. Regular season is roster building and is that it though? It looks like it's facilities as well. Bowl season is about the coaching carousel, fire and hire coordinators. You can offer like 8 different ones on each side of the ball, which I think is sick. The coaching, man, I think something to look back on after this year for the coaching carousel in 25 and 26 was like unacceptable how bad it was. Compared to what we're going to get here, it was so bad. But the offseason, obviously, you can come back and manage everything. And NIL becomes central for transfers and roster retention. So you'll see later in this video, if you don't pay your guys, you're cooked. You're cooked, buddy. About coaching staff and support staff here, you can hire certain specialists or fundraising coordinators, stuff like that, just to get small boosts and stuff like that. I'm not going to harp on it too much. But like, yeah, Dynasty points increase, discounts, reduce NIL expectations, which could be Very, 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 very important. Recruiting hours increase, like off-season progression increase. These seem to be pretty good, and I believe you can get one per team prestige star. So, like, if you're a one-star program, you can get one support staff. If you're a five-star, you can get all five. So, and obviously, you pay those with Dynasty points as well. And it looks like coordinators will actually try to leave, which is nice. Because I feel like last year they never left. You could have a coordinator for like 10 years, and they just like never cared about pursuing another job for the most part. Sometimes they did, but not a ton. Hiring coordinators, you can see their interest in your program. You pay them Dynasty points accordingly, which I think is sick. Hopefully, they did say, like, yeah, some coaches will not appear at all. I actually wish that wasn't a thing. Like, I wish there was somehow I could get like Dabo Sweeney as a coordinator. I know it's not very realistic. It's not realistic at all. Not very realistic. Not realistic at all. But I kind of wish that was somewhat possible. You'll be able to see their coach abilities before you offer them. Duh, you would think that has been in the game. It hasn't. But yeah, you can send coach offers with your Dynasty points, and then you could see your offers pending. Here, shout out UCLA. So yeah, you have like 5 different offers now. I wonder. I think like so if Arroyo accepts his offer, these immediately go away. I think whoever you offer the most amount of money to, if they accept, they take the job immediately, is what I understand. They talk about facilities here, helping development and stuff like that. And I believe it works the same as like there's 5 tiers, and it's your athletic facilities grade. So basic facility, competitive facility, premier facility, elite facility, and national powerhouse. And apparently these are going to be a pretty important to recruiting. You didn't see a lot of athletic facility. You didn't see any deal breaker athletic facility recruits last year, but you really didn't see any that cared about it that much. So maybe they'll care about it more this year. You also see it gives progression bonuses right behind my head. I believe these stack as well, mind you. I believe these stack. I could be wrong. The way it's shown here, it looks like it stacks. So, at premier facility, you get 4%. Elite facility, you get another 10% of extra progression. And at national powerhouse, looks like in total, you would get an extra 30% progression bonus. That feels broken. That feels cracked. So, once again, it feels like I feel like I say it for everything they've shown so far, but it feels like everything's important. So it really is. I mean, people are gonna break it down. You know what's the meta way to set up your program or whatever, but there's gonna be some real variety in what you choose to focus on and what you don't. And you have to maintain your facility as well. So even if you're not upgrading it, it requires a certain amount of points per year, or else it'll downgrade. So, and then there's equipment slots. It's kind of like the support staff we talked about for the coaching. Increased grade, increased duration of equipment effects, reduce wear and tear, reduce practice injury chance, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of the same deal. You get 1 if you're like the lowest tier, 5 you're the highest tier, stuff like that. NIL has arrived to recruiting, and I like the way they've done it. So each player is going to have their, normal NIL, like what they want per se. And depending on what your school is, it's going to vary differently. Obviously, as you can see here, Ball State would have to offer 3 times as much bare minimum to get a 5-star compared to UCLA. I think UCLA was their example. It should have been like Ohio State or something, but I'll take the glaze. But yeah, so you would have to offer them a ton more for them to even like consider you. And then the more you offer them above that beginning number, gives you extra bonuses. But say like this player right here, wants 140 NIL points. Say you offer them 300. 300 becomes the baseline. Like that becomes what they expect. So if you go from 140 to 300, you get a huge boost. But say you go from 300 to 200, you would get a negative. So it's kind of like yesterday's price is not today's price. And the more they play, the better they do, the better overall they are, the more they produce on your team year to year, their NIL requests are going to go up. So the days of you stacking like 45 stars on your team and just getting to keep them all, it's not going to really be a thing, man. They're all going to want bread. So another use of roster, um another example of roster retention and stuff like that. Um so yeah, it should make recruiting harder for smaller schools, as well as even at the bigger schools. You are going to have to decide what positions you spend NIL on. Are you going to build through the trenches? Or are you going to build through the skill positions? Stuff like that. And you're going to be able to see how you budget that out between position groups. So that is awesome. Let's see if there's anything I missed here. Brand exposure helps with your NIL purchases. So that's another reason for brand exposure being good. Expected NIL is driven by position as well. Awards won. And this year, you can no longer offer scholarships during the preseason. Preseason is only going to be about scouting, which I think is really important. I'll talk about later in the recruiting section, or when I talk about recruits. Scouting, going to want to scout this year. Going to want to scout a ton this year. Yeah, but I talked about this already. The more NIL you offer them, the more like weekly offer bonus you can get. You still have to do the 50 hours of recruiting and the hard sales and stuff like that, but the NIL is just like a bonus for the most part. But then if you offer them more and you take it back, you'll get a negative hit. So you really got to be careful of how much you're offering a player. And obviously if the recruit commits somewhere else, you get your dynasty points back. Duh. Transfers. Recruiting also applies to transfers, but they place an even stronger emphasis on NIL. I like. Now, one of my biggest complaints, really 25 and 26, was the portal. 25, the portal was objectively awful. The way that was done, I cannot believe that's how they chose to incorporate it. It didn't make sense. Like every player locked you out pretty much at the very beginning. It didn't make a lot of sense. 26 was worlds better, but I think, I don't know if they've tweaked this, because I've seen no one complain about it. Pipelines played such an important role in transfer portal recruiting. Now, why would that make sense? Why would your pipeline, you're transferring? For initial recruiting, I get it. It should matter. But they're transferring. Pipelines should not matter. Barely, if at all. And it felt like if you were going after a recruit that didn't have a pipeline in the portal and someone else had a pipeline, you're cooked. And I don't think that makes any sense. Pipelines should have nothing to do with transfer portal recruiting. Hopefully NIL helps offset that, but I think it's still going to matter a little bit, but hopefully less than last year. And I thought it's where you can track who's getting your NIL and stuff and what positions you're going after and how much they're making in that spreadsheet. You can see every other team's NIL usage and what they're spending it on and how much they're spending. In this example right here, Ohio State is spending more than double Michigan's NIL. Crazy numbers from Ohio State and Georgia here. I wonder if that's just because they've chosen to, or they just have that many more dynasty points than a Notre Dame, than a Miami, than a Michigan. So interesting to see that. Like I said, I played the beta, but not a ton. No real rosters in the beta killed it. Like why would I bother? I only did it for one thing, and I'll talk about later. But yeah, players on your roster need NIL as well to stay. And I believe you can offer them more, for the, risk of leaving to be lower. Less less offer would mean the risk of leaving is higher. Stuff like that. So I believe this screen is going to pop up like before the player's leaving screen, and then you submit your NIL offers, and then you see who stays, who leaves. Little preview at UCLA's roster, by the way. I'll take away my picture. I know no one cares about this, but I do. But Wayne Knight, Platinum Shifty. I'm down, man. Platinum Shifty? Whew. If you know, you know. But yeah. So like he wants to leave. So they're giving him more NIL in hopes he doesn't leave. It's not a guarantee, as far as I can tell. But that's kind of what it helps with. And I think this is interesting. I don't think these are final rosters per se, but you do see a freshman here. This man is what I believe, Roy is a D tackle transfer from, God, is it Ohio State? It might be. He's an 81 overall flat. So I think you might see some of these 5-star. He's not even a 5-star. I don't know he's a transfer, but he's still a freshman, but he's not a redshirt freshman. Who knows how the classes work in real life? I don't know, man. Everyone plays 20 years. Who knows? But anyways, true freshman. This is not a created player. Roy is not a created player. This is a real human being. He's an 81 overall true freshman. So you might see some higher true freshman ratings this year. If this roster is semi-relevant to what we get on release day, which I thought was very interesting. But yeah, risk of leaving, you can track roster NILs for certain teams, like what they're presenting on quarterback, running back, receiver, and some of these vary. Like Alabama is spending $230 on QB, while Oregon's spending $620. So very interesting. And obviously you can put a lot of this stuff on auto. I never recommend, but auto recruiting has been awful the first 2 years. I expect everything on auto to be piss poor. So I get people don't want to take the time, and if you don't, that's fine, but just understand that you're just going to get the short end of the stick. Like, if the auto settings are not going to be good, they're just not. I tell you right now. I don't need to see any of this stuff. It's not going to be good. Recruiting. Maybe the most important part. We now get verbal commitments. So they've removed the top 8 stage. So it's going to go from open to top 5 to top 3 to verbal commits. So, and finally to hard commit after that. So once you get verbal commits, the top 3 could still continue recruiting them. When a player is verbally committed, the committed school receives a bonus influence multiplier based on pipeline strength. Interesting. God, that's going to matter in the portal. It's going to piss me off, man. If a player is from Texas and wants to transfer, I don't think he cares much about the proximity to home, considering he's trying to leave. Sorry. It's just annoying. The goal for the committed school is to use that advantage to push the recruit across the next threshold and secure a hard commit. But if you're chasing, keep applying pressure. Maybe offer him your entire NIL budget, and see if you can close the gap before signing day. And then if you pass them while they're in that top 3, even during a verbal commits, it's interesting. The recruit will not, it appears, just flip. The recruit will decommit and the recruitment will open back up. I don't like that. It should be an actual flip. And at that point, no school receives the verbal commitment bonus. The race is back on. I don't really love that. I wish it was just an actual real flip, but that's fine. Like it should be, you get to the verbal commitment and then there's a race to the hard. And like if the second place team gets the hard first, it should flip immediately from verbal to one team to hard to another, if that makes sense. But it's still cool we're getting verbal and hard commits. Recruit generation. Hold the phone. Recruit generation has been updated to create more dynamic and exciting incoming classes. In general, recruits should feel more explosive, better athletes, higher in speed, higher tier abilities, 5-star recruits should consistently feel like the kind of players who make an immediate impact. At the very top end, you have a chance to find a generational recruit. These players are rare, but when they appear, they should feel different from the rest of the class. Keep that in mind. They're the kind of prospects who can change the trajectory of a program if you're able to identify them. This is why I play the beta. I simmed 5 years to try to find generational recruits. From what I could see in 5 years, I didn't find one. Now, there's a couple options for that. Maybe the beta is bugged. Or maybe they got past me. It was kind of hard to keep track of every 5-star for 5 years. Or maybe they were generational and I didn't identify them as generational. So, like last year, you could get 80 overalls. You could get 80 overall. It's possible. This year, I've seen 81s and like maybe an 82 from 5 stars. But they also, like, that is true. They are way better athletes. It felt like the overall bumps were only like 1 or 2 for the top end 5 stars, but the level of athlete is night and day, which is how it should be. I don't know why every 5-star last year was an awful athlete. I mean, ridiculous, beyond me. But this stuff is important to me because I think it benefits a lot to replayability. If you're in the same bland 80 overall, 78 overall 5 stars every single Dynasty, it is boring. Now the better athletes help with that, but I did not find a generational recruit. They could have showed an example. See what I'm saying? With everything they say they don't show an example, take with a grain of salt. They could have shown an example here. I'm not seeing one. I didn't see one in 5 years. And what I would deem a generational recruit would be like an 85 overall. I think that's fair. Generational, you could find 80, 81s. Generational, like 85. An 81 overall player should not be classified as a generational recruit. Please give me a break. But yeah, I didn't find one. So, hey, maybe they got by me. But if this is not true, this will matter a lot to me. If this is not true. And like I said, man, they showed pictures this whole field. They've showed pictures all day long. Not a picture of generational recruits? I don't know. Kind of odd to me. Very rare. I bet they are rare. What if they don't exist? What if they don't exist? Food for thought. But that's one of my biggest gripes. Did not find a generational recruit. But the 5 stars and even some 4 stars, the level of athlete, night and day. Night and day. There are crazy athletes around. Which is why I think scouting is so important. Now, you could find some 6'4" receivers that had 98 speed in the beta. You could also find the same 5-star receiver that's 6'4" that has 87 speed. So, like, that's night and day. That's a huge difference. Anyways, this video is probably going on longer than I wanted to. We're trying to wrap up some of this stuff. My school, talk about how these proximity to home has been improved. Brand exposure should be what have you done lately. It was really hard to get this rating up, in my opinion. In 25 or 26, manage wear and tear. We now have weekly practice. Some people that don't like wear and tear won't like this. Whatever. This is good. This is awesome. Managing how you want to give a player rest or not rest, something like that. And if you give them a week off, the player does not practice and does not play. That's interesting. And maybe that's more important now. Like if you're Ohio State and like you have you're playing I'll do it. You're playing at UCLA the week before Michigan. You might want to give some of your players the week off because like maybe you lose the Michigan game. Maybe you get fired. So like maybe you want your best players. Here's some more ratings here. Dante Moore 94. I don't know if these are finalized, but something to look at. Hopefully the team overall, by the way, this says Oregon's a 91. Hopefully the team overall makes more sense. In practice, you can get more increased composure or decreased composure. They talk about a lot of that about composure in the gameplay deep dive, but not a lot here. Coaching carousel. Okay, I'll spend some time on this one. I'll try to do it kind of quickly. Coaching carousel. You're finally going to get more than 4 offers. By God, have mercy. I will not be the head coach of Alabama and get a Kent State offer. Thank God. Well, I mean, you might still, but like, you will have more than that. But yeah, man, coaching carousel Dynasty coming soon, for real. Let me take my fat face away. So as you can see, this is Bob Chesney, as far as I'm aware. These are his offers. Schools interested in him, Georgia Tech and Kentucky, and then you have openings that you can express interest in as well. And you could get any of these jobs. So it shows you your current coach point awards for your team, like how many you get per year, and then your new team. Dynasty points as well. So as you can see, if he took the Georgia Tech job, he would get almost double Dynasty points per year. Shows their top players. Shows the top candidates as well on the right side of the screen. Shows their athletic director expectations, their my school grades, their Dynasty blueprint, all this stuff that you never got to see last 2 years. You never got to see anything. And then you can express interest. Now, the way this works, express interest does not guarantee an offer. Okay? So, I believe, as far as I can tell, if you express interest in a school and you do not get they don't hire you, your current school will take a hit to job stability or coach stability. So the school really won't like that. So maybe only express interest in a school if, one, you really think it's going to hire you, and two, that you really, 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 really want to go to. Otherwise, you might be playing yourself. And talk about how schools evaluate coaches. Coachable still matters, but it's not the primary way. I actually didn't know that was the primary way last year, which actually makes a ton of sense. Because you level up your coach very slow last year, and people complain they never got really great offers, maybe because other coaches were like at level 80 and you were like a 30. It makes a lot of sense. But it's about coach prestige, what you have actually accomplished. And coach prestige has been reworked. Recent accomplishments carry more weight. I like that. Expressing interest. You express interest in the jobs you want to pursue. You can express interest up to 6 jobs. If a school has you high on its short list, expressing interest gives you a strong chance, but it's not a guarantee. And it's also a real commitment. If you express interest and you get hired, that's it. There's no going back. And each time you express interest, you will take a small hit to coach stability as rumors begin to circulate. Can impact how players view your program. That is so good. That is so good. And obviously, you'll finish the season with your current team. You won't lane kiffin your way out of there. Coach abilities and progression. From what I can tell, a lot of these coach abilities are still the same, except we got 2 new skill trees, folks. 2 new. It's been 3 years. We're finally getting new skill trees. Oh. One of them, you have to buy Madden. The second one, you have to pay $150. Ladies and gentlemen, these are your first microtransactions in Dynasty. That's what this is. This is objectively, it's really, and unfortunately, here's the deal. Everything with College Football 27 looks so good, man. It looks like they hit a home run. And this really is a game the hate it deserves to get because everything looks so good, and I get it. I get it. But man, this stuff, 2 skill trees. The only 2 new skill trees in 3 years are both behind like mega paywalls. is crazy. And you might say, Cameron, they don't affect, you could turn them off in online dynasties. Okay. What does that have to do with, I would hope you can. They're both also really OP. Like, increases pro draft stock of your players, increases player progression, it increases annual coach point. This one is all about NIL stuff, which is what the game's revolved around. So, it's bad. And you know what they're going to do? In 2 or 3 months, they're going to make these available to everybody if you pay like $5. They're going to turn it from like a microtransaction to a straight up microtransaction. And people will probably applaud that because, oh, they're finally available to me. This is the beginning of it, folks, because this is not going to get the blowback it deserves. This is not going to get the blowback it deserves. I will not be using these in any of my videos at all, man. Fuck these things right here, man. Mega, mega bad. It's insane. Insane. Obviously, like, it's important to harp on when you harp on these, like, this is like higher up stuff. The devs are not like, oh, let's put this behind a paywall, bro. They don't care. It's the higher ups that want some type of monetary thing. And people made the argument it's cool. Oh, it's cool for us only Dynasty players. We get some value out of it, out of the MVP plus membership. No, bro. How about we just put value in for everybody? You're already playing the game 7 days early. There's a whole other debate. You just can't do this. You can't do this. This is abhorrently awful. I don't use these, bro. Just everyone should be very clear. Don't fucking use these, man. Ability cost rebalance, a bunch of other stuff that's going to cost different coach points, so it makes like tier 4 abilities harder to get. Coach mode. Coach mode. You get to watch the game from the sideline. I wish they put they did put a picture here. But yeah, you get a call up play, make some hot routes. Your audio, the headsets of the quarterback cuts off at 15 seconds or whatever you decided at. This is going to be awesome for Dynasty. I won't do this all the time, but I'll definitely do a few games like this just to watch your players make plays. Hopefully the logic is a little better in like end of game situations. I know last year and the year before they're pretty bad, so we'll see how that goes. They have the Heisman ceremony as well. Dynamic weather we talked about a little bit earlier, where the game might start sunny, might turn into rain, snow might pick up, and the snow might, stop snowing. College football history. Just trying to fly through some of this other stuff that's not that important, but not important to me. More historical stats and more season history as well. College football playoff. You can select your crowd themes. There's new player awards. Team builder. Love some team builder. I don't do a ton, but I did one with my friends in Online Dynasty last year that was super fun. We'll do another one. They have Stadium Builder, which is kind of cool. I don't care that much, to be honest. But that's fine. Sound effects and stuff like that for your stadium. Thank God you can't like import your own. We'd have some fucking out of pocket stuff like that. Historical team records you can do for your dynasty or for your team builder. That's awesome. That's sick. Like that a lot. And you can update this is the biggest update of team builder. You can update your team builder at the end of each season. So you can the best part about Create a Stadium is that you can start with a low stadium and then say you win a natty, you can have like a stadium renovation and upgrade your stadium to like a huge place. So that's the best part, to be honest. Road to Glory, there's team builders in Road to Glory now, even in college. So that's sick. But that's about it. Kind of talked most of the stuff that I care about. And I'm just excited to get the game. Everything looked phenomenal. Really, I don't have much complaints at all, if not for those 2 skill trees. But it's important to harp on those, I think, because it sets a bad precedent. I'm telling you, man, it's EA, it's coming. You don't think these microtransactions are coming? I got news for you, man, but it might be the beginning of disaster. But we'll see. We'll see. I can't believe we got this much change from a year to year basis. Like from 25 to 26, bro, we didn't get a quarter of this much different stuff in the game. I don't know what changed, but I'm in. I'm in. Like the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel. We will be when College Football 27 comes out, we will be full on here with the Dynasty. You already picked out my team. The merch is on the way. But yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Hope you enjoyed. Deuces.